avión, es como un sonido del cielo que viene. Escucha, feo. Escucha horrible. Dice que puede ser la capa de la atmósfera, de la masa que choque.
My poor car. This is not funny. My poor car. I've never seen this before in my life. Holy crap, my poor car! Looks like I'm getting my car painted. And the power goes out. It's like hell on your wedding day. Well, we got ice for the coolers.
Plenty of ice for the drinks.
Lily, go sit with your brother. I don't understand. How did you know this was gonna happen?
What's your name, Gerda? Huh?
I'll tell you my name outside and I'll get your name and details as well.
Huh? You're more than welcome to them.
Yeah.
We're here practicing our faith.
Okay, well, unfortunately.
Huh? Nobody went to the Black Pits Mosque in Dublin, did they?
Sorry?
Huh? Nobody went to the Black Pits Mosque in Dublin. I says nobody. There was no guards going to the Black Pits Mosque in Dublin.
Okay, I'm a guard here in that known.
Yeah.
Building up Lake Tahoe, hit by a series of earthquakes this morning. There's earthquakes jolted Tahoe area. Awake on Sunday morning, the 14 quakes hit right in the middle of Lake Tahoe, close to the state line fault of California. Here you see the map of Lake Tahoe near the Nevada line. And the earthquake swarm hits the middle of Lake Tahoe. It's part of the quake map. According to the United States Geological Survey, the largest, a 3.8 magnitude quake, struck at 8:33 a.m. It was strong enough for many area residents posted on social media they felt the rumble. The epicenter was 4.5 miles southeast of Dollar Point, near middle of Lake Tahoe. It struck at a depth of 2 kilometers. You can see here on the map. And on down we go to the list. According to the USGS, the first tremor was followed by 13 others within 14 hours, and the warm is probably still going. Magnitude 3.7, Dollar Point, California. Magnitude 2.0, 9 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California. 2.7, 8 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California. 2.4, 10 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California. Magnitude 1.0, 8 kilometers west-northwest of Glenbrook, Nevada. 1.9, Dollar Point, California. 1.5, Dollar Point, California. 2.3, 10 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California. 1.3, 8 kilometers west-northwest of Glenbrook, Nevada. And a magnitude 1.1, 8 kilometers west-northwest of Glenbrook, Nevada. 1.2, 9 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California. 2.4 was 10 kilometers southeast of Dollar Point, California, and a magnitude 1.1, 8 kilometers east-southeast of Dollar Point, California, a magnitude 1.3, 8 kilometers west-northwest of Glenbrook, Nevada. Below, what are the fault lines in Lake Tahoe? You can see it's pretty much showy where you can see West Tahoe fault line, Tahoe City, Tahoma, Emerald Bay, big fault line going down. And then in the middle of Lake Tahoe, you can see coming from Crystal Bay going on down. It's called the State Line Fault. And the Incline Village Fault, which is right below beside Incline Village, and not too far from Glenbrook and Cave Rock.
Anyway, it was just a jolt. It was like, boom. No sound, but just the jolt.
They had planned for a quiet Sunday morning at home until Sally Lindstrom and her husband felt their Camino house shake.
3.9 was a jolt. It wasn't anything. We just looked at each other. We both knew earthquake.
Lindstrom looked around, but luckily nothing broke inside, and there was no damage around her home.
It wasn't rolling. It just went like you were shaking. Somebody's waking you up, jolting you. And we looked at each other. Earthquake.
In Pollock Pines, Kyle Neeser and Jody Hall also felt the quake.
We were just sitting watching the television this morning, and it sounded like a freight train hit the house, or a tree hit the house, or made you pretty much jump out of your chair. And then we realized it was an earthquake.
It didn't damage their home, but got their hearts racing.
The pictures were rattling on the walls and what have you.
I was sitting with my laptop on my computer in the chair, and I almost threw my laptop on the floor and jumped up out of the chair. It scared me, and my heart raced for about 5 minutes.
They are counting their blessings. Having gone through earthquakes before, they know all too well it could have been worse.
My last big earthquake that I experienced was Northridge, and that was an exciting one. I don't like those.
In El Dorado County, Leticia Ordaz, KCLRA 3 News.
And again, so far, no reports of damage or injuries.
Good Monday morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Laura Garcia.
And I'm Marcus Washington. And this morning, maybe you felt some shaking. A 2.6 earthquake hitting the East Bay at 4:44 this morning. Taking a look at our tag board, and you can see just how many people are talking about it. I heard some people say that they felt a jolt. Some people saying that they heard it more than they felt it this morning. This could be felt in Oakland, Piedmont, and Berkeley. And we want to bring in Carrie Hall. Of course, she's been monitoring this as well. And Carrie, we know this is in the East Bay, so we know which fault this earthquake happened on.
Right, it was on the Hayward Fault, and it was, even though it was just a 2.6, we had a lot of people felt it because it was in such a highly populated area. And so now as we take a look at what's going on, people in the East Bay feeling that, and what's happened on the Hayward Fault. And it's been a long time since we've had a significant quake, and we even watched the small ones because it could possibly be a foreshock to a larger earthquake. And so the last major quake we had on the Hayward Fault was in 1868, and that was a 6.8.
Did you feel the earth shake this morning? There was a small earthquake reported southeast of Eureka. That was around 2:30 this morning. It was a magnitude 2.4. It hit south of I-44 near Route 66 State Park and the Merrimack River. It was 10 miles deep. Now, if you did feel it, you can report it to the United States Geological Survey. You can find that link on this story on fox2now.com. In other news, a woman was hurt in a crash overnight in University City. Police say she was driving on Olive Boulevard.
We've had a lot of those lately. This will be no different. You'll clearly see which is the better outdoor day in the 7-day in just a second. As we look here at the Newport Bridge, you can see.
Scripps researchers say they've uncovered the reason behind melting sea ice in some of the planet's coldest waters. Local oceanographers led a team to the Arctic Ocean where they discovered how heat bombs are melting the Arctic ice. News 8 photojournalist Colleen Murphy gives us a closer look.
The Arctic Ocean is a bit of a canary in the coal mine, and it's changing in ways that not only preview how the rest of the world changes, but it influences other weather. The feature we've been looking at has different names depending on who you ask. The heat bombs name is sort of a colloquial, informal way of referring to these features. These are pockets of warm water that lurk subsurface in the Arctic. They're coming in from the Pacific Ocean through Bering Strait because they are a little saltier than the surface water in the Arctic, which is fairly fresh. Even though they're warmer, they can dive beneath the surface. They're able to swirl, bringing a lot of heat deep into the Arctic and melting the ice from below. We have a fast winch that allows this instrument that measures temperature, salinity, some biological properties of the ocean to go up and down really rapidly as we move the ship around. And so we can identify features, these subsurface heat pockets, and see them in really great detail. It seems quite likely that all of the ice in the summer will be gone in the not too distant future in the next decade or two. There will still be ice in the winter, but the year-round ice won't be there. Losing the year-round ice has huge implications for the ecology, for the indigenous communities living around the Arctic, for the global climate. The ice that lasts for multiple years tends to be much thicker. It plays a different role in the climate. It provides a different type of environment for the ecology of the Arctic, the polar bears, the walruses, etc. The animals their whole world will change. The whole scientific community is trying to think about what we do with this knowledge, and the first obvious step is just improve our forecasts of what's likely to happen. If we have a better prediction for how the Arctic is changing, how the global climate will change in response, we can prepare, we can adapt, we can adjust, we can at least know what's coming our way.
Power is back on in the CBD after an electrical vault fire last night. The lights were shut off for about 1,500 people after this underground fire near Natchez and Magazine Streets around 9 last night. The New Orleans Fire Department posted this video on Twitter. Check that out, the flames coming out of the ground there. Utility crews had to cut the power in order to isolate and de-energize the equipment in the area, then work to put out those flames. Luckily, no one was hurt, and it was all under control just before 1 a.m. Entergy is still trying to figure out what caused the issue in the first place.
Ashore, toxic and very harmful blue-green algae overtakes the Pahokee City Marina. Drone 12 captures this concerning video high above Lake Okeechobee Friday morning. You can really see how the toxic laced water is coated with green bacteria.
I was like, wow, to see it like that is just
It's horrible.
And Jude Polisier, who lives in Pahokee, says the timing of this extensive amount of cyanobacteria is shocking. She worries this year's early bloom could signal one of the worst summers yet.
A record crowd turned out to see an Idaho tradition as Frank Schertz and his team led his sheep across Highway 55 into the Boise foothills. Outdoor reporter Steve Dent shows us why this sheep crossing generates so much interest and why there's a sheep migration every spring here in Idaho.
It's certainly a sight to see.
Oh my God.
Wait! About 2,600 to be exact, and look at the crowd of people who showed up to watch the sheep cross Highway 55.
It's like an Idaho tradition, and wanted to see all the sheep running through, and yeah, it's really cool. Been here a couple times.
People told me they heard about the crossing in a number of different ways: the news media, social media, and Steve Stubner's Life on the Range blog.
So I follow Life on the Range on Facebook, and I've been watching and asking them to let us know when the sheep crossing will be coming again so I could plan an event.
Residents in Dry Creek made a day out of the sheep crossing. But the majority of people I talked to came for the very first time.
This is just absolutely amazing to see. It's like, you're back in the West when they shut down a major highway so some sheep can cross the road. It's kind of it's surreal.
Every year, rancher Frank Schertz and his Peruvian herders guide their flock of sheep into the foothills with the help of their sheepdogs.
But it was fun to watch the dogs and their herding ability.
Yes.
I mean, to me that was more of the show than watching the sheep go down the highway.
Right.
Was the working dogs doing what they do.
This year does bring concerns. Dry conditions might make it difficult to find grass for the sheep. Wilder rancher Frank Schertz has had to endure the pandemic that caused the price of lamb to drop. But Frank continues his way of life that dates back to the 1880s.
What does the sheep say?
And it gives this crowd a new appreciation for life on the range.
And what I thought was funny is, there's always that expression that people are sheep because they're following. Well, these were oppositional defiant sheep that with minds of their own because they went in every which way. So that was a cool little observation. I might not call people sheep ever again.
Steve Dent, Idaho News 6.
A scare today for the couple living in this Rancho Palos Verdes home. Sky 9 captured the aftermath of a crane collapse on Cartier Drive. That crane came crashing onto the top of the house in that garage area. The homeowners were in the kitchen, thankfully. A company was trying to install a solar field into the backyard. Metal columns that support the field were being transported when something went wrong.
I saw the crane kind of shaking a little bit, maybe because of the wind, I don't know, or out of balance. And then it just came crashing down in the middle of the house. And I was like, oh my God, I hope there's no one inside the house.
Well, there were people inside, but they were not injured. Neither was the crane operator. LA County Fire says wind had nothing to do with what happened today. The structure is now red tagged by the city.
And of course, we're talking about warmer weather and how local firefighters are on edge tonight because of the dry conditions. Just this afternoon, a brush fire threatened several homes in Clackamas County. Now experts are saying the fire danger is only expected to increase this weekend. Fox 12's John Hendricks shows us ways you can keep you and your family safe.
Well, firefighters were kept busy Friday afternoon as that fire on Redland Road was pushed by these warmer temperatures and gusty winds. It quickly grew to 38 to 40 acres. In the evening hours, crews on the ground worked to mop up an extremely early and extremely rare brush fire.
We've seen fire up in the trees as well, which makes it difficult for our crews to access, of course, and extinguish.
Firefighters saying the flames quickly chewed through dozens of acres near the intersection of Redland Road at Niebuhr outside of Oregon City. Today, it was warmer temps, low humidity, and gusty winds.
Although it is unseasonal, we have those three sort of factors playing a role in our ability to keep up with this fire as it's progressing quickly.
From Air 12, you can see the damage left behind and just how close the flames came to several homes. Firefighters saying the fire came within 20 feet of one of them. They say in total 7 homes were in immediate danger and another 10 were threatened. This early season fire coming as a reminder summer is just around the corner, and so is Oregon's wildfire season. Today, a lesson: it's time to get your home ready now.
The take home here is to make sure you have what's called a defensible space around your home. So you have a low cut grass, it's well watered, your trees are limbed up, often 30 feet high.
Firefighters also say to move combustibles like firewood away from your home and clean any leaves or pine needles from your gutters. Headed into this weekend with an unfavorable forecast, firefighters hoping people will heed the warnings and play it safe.
We don't anticipate that the conditions are going to change. Our crews are ready. We're well trained for this.
As for that fire off of Redland Road, fire investigators were out there today trying to figure out exactly how it was sparked. As of this evening, that has not been determined. Reporting in Oregon City, John Hendricks, Fox 12 Oregon.
Here's the video of the night. Check it out. A driver records a car that explodes on the side of a road up in North Texas. This is along Highway 114. The fireball consumes a Toyota, then causes a small grass fire, and you can see why. Investigators still don't know how this happened. Fortunately, in spite of that blaze, no injuries reported.
An Albuquerque postal worker is under investigation tonight after making videos mocking homeless people along his mail route. He then posts those videos on the popular social media app TikTok. News 13's Rachel Knapp spoke to a local homeless support group who calls the videos disturbing.
Jess, while we don't know exactly who is behind the videos, we believe he is a mail carrier and he's doing this while on the job.
Well, I don't know what's more cracked. That you smoking or your feet.
Videos posted to TikTok.
You smoke everything? I'm sure you do, girl.
Under the name War Zone Chronicles, the person behind the camera mocks the homeless and those struggling with drug addiction and mental illness along the International District in Albuquerque.
How can this guy be so mean?
That guy appears to be doing it all while on the job. As a U.S. postal worker, the U.S. Postal Service calls the employee's alleged actions very concerning and tells us they've opened an investigation. The videos on TikTok were just disturbing. The executive director of Street Safe New Mexico, a nonprofit aimed at helping the homeless, worries videos like this put people out on the streets at risk of violence.
He doesn't realize he's doing damage with this. You know, so Albuquerque's not that big of a town. Somebody else saw that gentleman in the corner who was kind of ranting, and they're going to think, haha, that was funny. Let's do something else. Let's throw something at him.
She says many of these people suffer from mental illness or drug addiction, and it's wrong to take videos of them like this for entertainment.
These very broken lives that led to this place that left them on the street, where they're just trying to stay safe and have their own life. And then here somebody walks up and takes a video of them and starts making fun of them.
This woman, who we're told is homeless, watched some of the videos herself and gave us her take on it.
All the videos, tell me you are what you are. I mean, come on, we out here. I don't see anything wrong with the videos myself, but think if it was you. That's all I'm saying, you know? Come on, think if it was you. Everybody has feelings, so just respect it.
The original TikTok account looks like it's been deleted, but it looks like another one with a different spelling was created a few hours ago with the same videos. Back to you.
All right, Rachel, thank you. The Postal Service says these actions will not be tolerated and they will take whatever action is appropriate after a complete investigation.
The price of power, as we learned during the February storms, is not cheap. CPS Energy revisited the possibility of disconnects today at a board meeting. KENS 5 consumer reporter Nicole Kahn explains what's likely to happen for customers. Nicole?
Aaron, we still have no solid answer on when disconnects are likely to begin again, but they are likely to start soon, simply because the power company says it is held off as long as it possibly can. Almost 83,000 residential customers are eligible for disconnects. The power company gave no date for the disconnects to begin again, but said customers will be given notice by letters and phone calls, and then will have 45 days to make arrangements before the power is cut off. The utility is not currently eligible for direct federal funds to help customers, but continues to explore options to help customers pay their bills.
We're going to be as thoughtful as possible. We've got to get back to a normal, but there are we don't have any other funds to get this from, and we're holding on our balance sheet again, but it is really being difficult to keep it all in balance. We're going to have to ultimately start the disconnects again.
I want to make sure that the message out of this board is not that we think that the public that owns this company is going to have to go figure it out. We're with them together, and we're going to figure it out together.
Disconnects will again be put on hold during extreme summer weather, which is likely to happen in late July and August. Still no word yet on power bills and what they're going to look like for customers from February's deadly winter storm.
The Utah Highway Patrol is investigating a deadly head-on crash. It happened on U.S. Highway 6 in Utah County. Traffic was temporarily stopped in both directions, but we are told eastbound traffic is moving again. All westbound traffic was being diverted at U.S. Highway 89.
The best message I can give right now is to get vaccinated.
Sacramento state officials speaking with KCRA3 about a new proposal to get all students and staff back on campus safely this upcoming fall semester.
There should be students and faculty and staff all over the campus, and the vaccine is our way back.
The University of California and Cal State school systems joining together on Thursday to announce that all members of the college community must get the COVID-19 vaccine once it is fully approved by the FDA before stepping foot on campus.
We believe that there will be formal approval sometime soon, at least into the late spring or early summer. And we wanted to make the announcement early to give us time to plan.
Sac State already playing an active role in community vaccination. The student union transformed into a vaccination clinic, delivering up to 450 shots per day since it opened in January, workers say.
I'm in favor of it.
This woman graduated Sac State in 2017 and now works on campus.
It would make people who work on campus feel safer returning to campus, knowing that everyone is coming back vaccinated.
I'm 100% okay with it.
This third-year history major telling us he's ready to get his shot at the vaccine. Right now, he's on a wait list.
I am planning on getting it as soon as possible. And frankly, I think it's selfish not to get vaccinated.
In a statement, UC President Michael Drake showed his support for mass vaccinations, writing that getting the shot is a key step people can take to protect themselves, their friends and family, and the campus community.
I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, the only thing I'm not going to like is the traffic. Traffic coming back and parking.
What some might call a small price to pay after more than a year of life in a pandemic.
I'm excited about the announcement. We'll get beyond this pandemic.
And a spokesperson with the UC system says that frequent hand washing, social distancing, and face mask wearing will continue to be crucial as students and faculty return back to campus. Reporting from Davis, Stephanie Lynn, KCRA3 News.
Governor Newsom, he was on the Big Sur coast today taking part in the reopening of the Coast Highway. This after everything from mudslides to wildfires conspired to close that iconic highway last winter. KRON 4's Rob Flattabo has the latest.
To be able to say, and governors love saying this, anyone elected office, anyone in the private sector loves saying that we got something done ahead of schedule and on budget. So let me say it again. We got something done ahead of schedule and on budget.
3, 2, 1.
California Governor Gavin Newsom on hand Friday to help cut the ribbon, celebrating the long-awaited reopening of Highway 1 here at Rat Creek, about 15 miles south of Big Sur Village.
This is not just another highway in our highway system. This is not just another roadway in the United States of America. This is Highway 1. There ain't anything else like this anywhere in the world.
The governor was given a tour of the $11.5 million repair after a landslide swept a 150-foot section of the highway into the ocean below last winter. The slide blamed in part on a storm that brought 15 inches of rain in 48 hours. Crews scraped away 75,000 cubic yards of debris while replacing a 1930-era culvert underneath the road that had failed.
So we have crews that have worked 7 days a week for the last 86 days because we know how important this lifeline is. It's important to the community, it's important to tourism, the economy of this state.
Debris flows from the 120,000-acre Dolan wildfire contributed to the slide that disrupted commerce, already hurting from the pandemic and cutting off residents like Teresa Davis.
So excited to have it back open. All of our relatives from other states are excited to come back, take the ride all the way through. Us as well. We're so glad.
South Coast residents praised for their resiliency as the governor compared the reopening of California's Coast of Dreams to that slowly brightening light at the end of the tunnel a little farther down the road.
And today we're blessed to be back and to see this iconic highway up and operational and back on its feet, just as this state is getting back on its feet. Thank you all very, very much. We'll be honored.
Along the South Coast Highway, Rob Flattebo, KRON 4 News.
We want to manage the wolves. We want to.
Wolves are in the crosshairs of a new bill moving through the Idaho legislature. The legislation was only introduced this week and wants to trim the state's wolf population from 1,500 to 150. That's a 90% drop. The Senate-approved bill now is in front of the House, and a lot of supporters, a lot of critics. Joey Prechtel has the viewpoint from both sides tonight. Joey, break it all down for us.
Well, Kim, supporters of the bill say the wolf population here in the state of Idaho is out of control and they need more ways to manage that population in order to protect livestock. Whereas critics, well, they say the bill actually goes too far and they say it actually does violate a plan that the state of Idaho and the federal government have agreed upon.
Wolf depredation issues has been an issue for the livestock industry for a number of years.
Republicans in the state legislature are backing a bill to manage wolf populations in Idaho. They say it's a threat to one of Idaho's biggest industries.
Both domestic, livestock, and our animals.
The bill has a number of supporters, like farmers and ranchers who aren't fans of current guidelines.
We were told that the reintroduction would contain the wolves to central Idaho wilderness. Somehow the wolves did not get that memo.
This wolf reintroduction has come down very harshly economically on some of Idaho's most rural economies and rural counties.
But it also has its critics.
We think that the bill contains numerous flaws and it's simply too late in the season to propose this. And
John Robinson is with the Idaho Conservation League. He says the bill could cause the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to take over control of the state's wolves.
The legislature could allow the removal of up to 90% of Idaho's wolves. So this is a breach from the agreement that the state of Idaho had made with the Fish and Wildlife Service.
Robinson says the impacts from the bill could also change the landscape and environment.
Wolves are one of these keystone predators that have a rippling effect across the entire landscape.
Testimony taken in the House committee on Thursday was largely in favor of the bill, and supporters say they just want to get wolves down to a manageable level.
There's nobody in this group that wants to wipe out the wolves completely.
The bill now heads to the full House floor after passing out of that House committee earlier this morning. And since this bill has already passed the Senate, if it does pass the House as well, then it will head to the governor's desk for either his veto or his signature. Back to you.
Yeah, a lot of opinions on both sides of the issue. Joey, thank you.
Right now, the owners of an Outback Steakhouse in Swansea, Illinois, they're working out the future of their restaurant. This after a fire sparked overnight, leaving behind a great deal of damage. News 11's Blair Leday in Swansea with what we know so far.
Yeah, well, fire officials here, they say that this fire started at the front of the building, and you can see what's left behind here. The building is charred. This all happened in the middle of the rain that happened overnight. Now, let's take a look at video from those flames that sparked. Now, fire officials say that a passerby called in at about 3 o'clock in the morning reporting this fire. Several agencies did respond, including Eastside, Fairview Fire Department, O'Fallon, and Belleville. They immediately started to extinguish this fire. Fortunately, no one was here at that time and no one was injured. Fire officials still investigating right now to figure out the cause of this fire.
Still too early to tell. They're definitely looking into possible cause of the fire, and the state fire marshal arrived on scene about 15 minutes ago, and they're going to give us an update once they get done with their investigation. A good portion of the building is salvageable. No damage back in the kitchen area. Most of the fire was contained to the front of the building.
There aren't many Outback Steakhouses in the area at all. The closest one in South County. The owners inside, they say this is unfortunate, but they are just happy no one was injured. No word yet on when they'll start serving people again, but they are just excited to get back to business and start serving their community sometime soon. The state fire marshal is assisting in this investigation. Reporting in Swansea, Illinois, I'm Blair Leday.
Local researchers have discovered 27,000 barrels of potentially toxic material off the coast of Southern California.
Researchers with UC San Diego mapped the seafloor and made the discovery in a former DDT dumping ground. News 8's Brandon Lewis looks at the findings and how the barrels got there.
At Carlo and Marcelo, those barrels were placed there decades ago and were only recently found. We didn't know the extent of the issue until local researchers went out and had a look.
San Diego researchers spent 2 weeks in the San Pedro Basin near South Catalina. It's an area twice the size of Manhattan that was once a dumping ground for toxic material like DDT.
It's important for the public to realize that it's not just barrels associated with the Montrose Chemical Corporation and potential DDT within those barrels, but there was a wide range of dumping that occurred here in the LA Basin. And as I mentioned, it began in the 30s.
The dumping continued for 40 years, and no one really knows what's left behind or the impact it's having on the environment. In fact, just counting and mapping the barrels thousands of feet below the surface is a technological marvel.
In total, we detected over 100,000 targets, and we were able to classify 27,000 of those as barrel-like.
We have a high degree of confidence that these are indeed barrels. And then over 100,000 other debris targets. So we just didn't feel confident calling it a barrel, but it's clearly man-made.
Other teams will start with the confirmed items and eventually take samples.
We need to measure and assess the conditions of the barrels, find out if they're no longer containing what might have been discharged in them, and begin taking samples to do chemical analysis.
From there, other teams can consider removal or cleanup, and some can look at studying how it's impacted marine life, including bottlenose dolphins that were found with high levels of DDT back in 2015. There are also more places to search for these barrels, meaning these 100,000 targets may be only the beginning.
We were very surprised at the extent of them and over what length of them. But looking at the historical records, how this had potentially occurred for decades on a monthly basis, it shouldn't have been a surprise to us, but it was still just not anything I had really wrapped my head around in terms of envisioning what we might actually find.
There's still a lot of ongoing research that needs to happen, including just how big of an impact this has had on the marine life that calls that area home. Carlo and Marcella.
We are committed to finding every way we can to reach Pennsylvanians who cannot leave their homes and give them equitable access to the COVID-19 vaccine.
A new push today to vaccinate the homebound, shut-in, severely injured, or medically frail. They're people hit hard by the pandemic, and when the vaccine doses started rolling out, not everyone experienced equal access. Megan Schiller joins us live to explain what the state's doing to reach people where they are. Megan.
Christine, if you can't get a dose of the vaccine, the dose will now come to you. The governor says all you have to do is locate your local area on aging. And there's a website that's dedicated to doing just that. All you have to do is pull up this website and select the county that you live in. So say you live in Allegheny County, you select that and it pops up all of the information, including even the phone number and the website. We talked to a local doctor today who said the need for a program like this is dire, and she's seen it firsthand.
Do you have any allergies?
For the past several months, Dr. Natalie Gentili balanced a family practice and vaccinating any homebound person who reached out.
It really was a word of mouth kind of thing. People found out about us doing these vaccines in general and knew that we were people that we were doctors you could literally just like text or call and email.
KDKA highlighted the work of Dr. Gentili and Direct Care Physicians of Pittsburgh, and interest spiked. Too much interest.
I shut off our intake form after about 200 plus people that had asked for help.
So far, she's vaccinated more than 130 people who could not or should not physically travel to get a dose. Now she's bowing out and no longer scheduling any first dose appointments.
There's not enough time in the day to take in all of these requests, and then I was hand by hand going through each volunteer, assigning them to a region.
On Monday morning, Governor Wolf announced the local areas on aging will work to schedule appointments for homebound Pennsylvanians.
These are people who have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic, because they've suffered the same isolation that we have, and even more so.
Dr. Gentili admits it's a complex problem, saying that's why we needed a plan months ago.
you have to use all 10 doses in there within 6 hours once that vial's opened. So it's not just, I can't just say like, oh, go do 3 homebound visits today, go do 4 another day. We've got vials with 10 doses in it. We've got to do those math problems too. So really organizing all of that and coordinating that alone was way too much to handle while also running my own practice.
Dr. Tintilli said she did what she could and she hoped that she could do more, but now it needs to be turned over to much larger entities. I did reach out to the Allegheny County Health Department as well as UPMC and Allegheny Health Network. None of them at this hour were able to.
Rain in the forecast should dampen the wildfire risk in the next couple of days, but so far it's been abnormally dry here in southern Idaho all spring long. Experts say if we don't see a lot more rainfall in the next couple of weeks, our region could be in for a long, hot, and busy wildfire season. Idaho's chief meteorologist, Rick Lance, has the forecast coming up in a moment. But first, our Tristan Lewis is live with us with more on the drought concerns. Tristan, tell us more about that.
Hey Mark, so 75% of the Gem State is in what the National Weather Service is saying abnormally dry level conditions. And they also tell me because it was a La Nina year, they thought that we would see above normal precipitation amounts. But that's not the case this year. Idaho saw below normal snowpack up in the mountains and below normal rain and snow in the valley this past winter and spring. Areas in the central part of the Gem State, like Blaine County, are seeing even drier conditions. These conditions don't only bring hardships on the agriculture and farmlands, but it also increases the chance of wildfires. Jay Bradenbach with the National Weather Service says it's becoming a big concern as the summer approaches.
We're hoping for some precipitation to come into the area, but it sure would be nice to see a couple of days of rain to really soak the ground and maybe even add a little bit more snow up in the high country.
It isn't just Idaho. A lot of the western states are in what Bradenbach calls an exceptional drought. He warns that an early fire season may come to the area.
If we don't get some rain in the next month or so, you know, we normally don't get any significant rain in the summertime here.
Though the summertime does get occasional showers, it usually brings thunderstorms, which could bring dry lightning and cause wildfires. The Bureau of Land Management says they are keeping a close eye on the conditions.
We always prepare the same, which is that it's going to be a bad fire season.
The agency has already responded to a few fires in the past month because they're seeing less green than they would this time of year.
Just the dead and dry materials are still, you know, they're very dry and very easy to ignite.
They're asking the public to be careful and be aware of their surroundings as they enjoy the great outdoors this summer. And now the National Weather Service says there is no immediate threat right now. But they're also saying we should be on the lookout for more smoke in our area from nearby states like Nevada, Utah, and even Arizona. Now, Rick, you've noted a couple of times that this is one of the driest Aprils on record. Is there anything coming our way that might change that?
It's actually been dry even in March as well as April, and so that's the situation. We've had a couple of months of that, and we do have a storm system this weekend.
Our job is still, though, to be able to be there when an emergency or a crisis happens.
It has been a tense year for law enforcement as they face heightened scrutiny, but officers are continuing to train and respond to a variety of scenarios and situations.
Tonight, Fox 13's Brian Schnee goes in depth on Utah County's week-long SWAT training and how it prepares officers to handle whatever comes their way.
Probably the most contentious time I've seen in my life. Definitely as a law enforcement officer, 16 years. There you go. Switch your feet. Hit it.
As a member of Utah County SWAT for the last 6 years, Deputy Ray Ormond is instructing those wanting to learn some of the techniques.
So I'm going to drive my eyes first, then my body. Eyes first, then my body.
80 hours of physically and mentally demanding exercises over the course of 5 days. Ormond is training a group of first responders focusing on a laundry list of scenarios such as entering and searching buildings, high-risk search warrants, barricade and hostage situations with negotiations and de-escalation techniques. All things that SWAT can encounter on any given day.
What you're seeing is a lot of the physical training that goes into this, but officers say the most crucial part of the training is what happens up here.
Stand easy for a second. Relax, okay? Mental is the biggest part. If you can keep yourself mentally in the game, you'll be able to get through most situations, and that's what we want to teach our guys, our students.
Officers we spoke with say that firing their weapon, let alone pulling out their weapon in the first place, is the last thing they want to be doing. Negotiating and de-escalating is what comes first.
SWAT is a life-saving organization. We're not a life-taking organization if we can help it, if that makes sense. Our goal is to show up on scene and have that come to a peaceful resolution using that limited amount of force that we need to have that peaceful resolution.
In addition to being on standby for protests over the past year, SWAT teams have responded to some of their typical call-outs, which involve barricaded suspects and search warrants. Fortunately for Deputy Ormond, he's been able to return home after these tense and dangerous situations.
For me personally, I tried to listen to some peaceful music. I do carry a picture of my family, and anytime I'm going home, I look at my wife and kids, and it's one more day that I get to go home because I've had friends who haven't been able to.
In Utah County, Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In capping off a week of training last night, with the help of volunteers, SWAT teams held active shooter training at Diamond Fork Junior High.
Tomorrow, the CDC will release updated guidance on mask wearing outdoors for both vaccinated and unvaccinated.
And it comes as the U.S. joins international efforts to help India, that country fighting a devastating new wave of COVID. Thousands continue to die each day, and CBS 2's Jessica Layton has the story.
Crushing records across the globe with a deluge of deaths, holding mass cremations in the streets. The crisis in India has President Biden pledging to send critically needed supplies.
Supplies of therapeutics, rapid diagnostic test kits, ventilators.
The situation is so desperate, the ill are lining up in their cars for oxygen.
All of us know someone who's either sick or has passed away in the last few weeks.
Dr. Purvi Parikh's family here is working with a nonprofit to send oxygen concentrators to India, where she has several friends and relatives. A New York immunologist watching brokenhearted as that nation's healthcare system collapses.
What does that tell you about what's still happening with COVID on a worldwide scale? An outbreak anywhere is an outbreak everywhere. And what's happening in India can very easily end up in the U.S.
The U.S. is also planning to send millions of doses of the no longer needed AstraZeneca vaccine to other countries, including India, while facing concerns over increased vaccine hesitancy here at home. A new CBS News poll shows more than 1 in 5 Americans, or 22%, say they will not get the vaccine. Another 18% are still unsure. And the CDC estimates 5 million people haven't come back for their second shot.
It is critical that everybody get their second shot, because that's the only way we know that it's going to really protect you for any extended period of time.
Others are trying to switch vaccine brands after 1 dose. Doctors discourage that.
Let's take it the way that it was studied and approved, because we know that's safe and we know that's effective.
One more concerning note to pass along to you tonight. We have just learned that children now account for more than 1 in 5 of all new COVID-19 cases across the U.S. And tonight, that is prompting worry that this pandemic will be sticking around until kids can all be vaccinated. Live in Weehawken, New Jersey tonight, Jessica Layton,
Today's
CBS
rainy
2
weather,
News.
it just isn't enough to get Utah out of serious water trouble this summer.
Haley Higgins has more on the state of the drought. April showers bring May flowers, but record rain in Salt Lake City won't put a dent in the statewide drought.
This is wonderful and we need it, but this is not unexpected.
Utah's low snowpack doesn't appear to be melting its way into reservoirs. Instead, the extremely dry soils are soaking it up like a sponge.
We're really seeing very minimal response in our streams, and that's exactly what we've been worried about. That's why our forecasts have been so low.
As far as snowpack, the USDA's most recent data shows Snowbird is at 72% of normal, Ben Lomond in Weber County at 62%, Timpanogos Divide at 57%, and down south, Payson is at 50% and Kolob at 3%.
As far as wildfire concern this year, just given drought conditions, we're concerned statewide.
So far, Utah's had about 173 fires fires this season. That's more than double the fires seen this time last year. 6,200 acres have already burned, and in southern Utah, fuel conditions and fire behavior is similar to what is normally seen midsummer. To help, the state cut the burn season short.
Conditions are dry, so it's really essential that the public understand their crucial role in wildfire prevention, direct influence on how busy wildfire season will be.
Yeah, and as for this story, hydrologists say, well, we will take whatever we can get. And it's also important to note that for most of the state, a significant portion is still way too early to start watering your landscaping. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Haley Higgins.
A man intentionally set his own mobile home on fire and then called them for help. It happened at the Sundown Mobile Home Park at around 7:15 last night. 29-year-old Jordan Bergout told police he was trying to get attention after issues in his relationship. He was booked into the Davis County Jail on arson-related charges. The fire damaged the back end of Bergout's home and the outside of a neighbor's trailer. New this morning, a homeless man in Missouri is being charged with a hate crime for burning down a chapel belonging to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Prosecutors say the hate crime enhancement is because his motive was related to religion. The stake president there says the church now has plans to rebuild, but is still looking for a place to hold services in the meantime. And he says offers of help and support are pouring in from the community.
They've shared with us their well wishes and their desire to help and support us. We'll look to see if perhaps there's another church that would let us meet there, or perhaps there's another facility that we can rent in the short term until we're able to rebuild.
Neighbors volunteering to help say the church has always been there to lend a hand to anyone in need. The stake president says with local support, they are ready to move forward. The church is fully insured, so they say they can afford to rebuild.
Well, we're getting an early reminder that fire season is going to be here pretty soon, as the Lavaside fire has chewed through 1,100 acres in eastern Idaho. This is happening 20 minutes south of Idaho Falls in the town of Firth. The fire picked up Thursday morning because of high winds. Crews with the Bureau of Land Management are protecting houses in the area. Fortunately, the fire has not damaged any homes, but you can see how high the flames were and all that smoke pouring out from them. An abnormally dry spring is leading to concerns of a bad wildfire season across 3/4 of Idaho. Snowpack is low in the mountains, while the valleys saw below normal rain and snow. But it's not just Idaho. Most western states are under some sort of drought. Along with the weather changes, dead and dry materials on the ground also ignite easier. And Larry, with those drier conditions, officials are really asking people to be extra careful and aware of their surroundings.
A recent spill of liquid waste in Monroe County has stirred up more bad blood between neighbors and an energy company.
10 Investigates first reported on Renergy back in 2019 when neighbors complained about noise and strong odors coming from the farm where human and animal waste is turned into fertilizer.
Yeah, tonight, Chief Investigative Reporter Bennett Haberly looks into this recent spill, the smells, and the questions that still linger.
Something unwelcomed entered these waters.
Even worse than a sewer, it was just so overbearing that, we couldn't stay out.
And it was just straight black sludge.
Neighbors near Westfield Township in Morrow County captured these images of a liquid waste spill. Paul Staley says he moved his cows so they wouldn't graze near it. A contractor working for the energy company Renergy reported a hose failure, which caused animal and food waste to spill into a nearby creek. The Ohio EPA issued this notice of violation for the spill, but said no fish or wildlife was harmed. A spokesman for the Ohio EPA said about 2,500 gallons spilled, but that was based on what the contractor reported, not on Ohio EPA's own measurements. 2 days after the April 17th spill, we found EPA inspectors on site and saw crews still working to clean it up. The spill represents just the latest chapter in the ongoing fight between Renergy and neighbors who for years have complained about noise and odors.
They spray this stuff on the fields all around our house.
Manure has a pretty noticeable smell to it. Even a city slicker can pick out cow manure. This isn't cow manure. It's septic.
The company for years used this digester to create both electricity and fertilizer using human, animal, and food waste, turning it into what it called biosolids. While the facility stopped taking in human waste last fall, it still has storage ponds on site and was issued a notice of violation last spring because they were too full, something the Ohio EPA says the company is still working to fix. Both regulators and Renergy say what spilled was food and animal waste and not biosolids. But neighbors remain concerned about long-term effects, pointing to a 2018 report from the EPA's Office of Inspector General that notes there are more than 350 pollutants in biosolids.
We're still banging our head up against the wall, and it's just continue to have different effects on our life, different areas, and it's a vicious cycle.
Renergy declined an interview request, but issued a statement that read in part, quote, "The reports on social media of entire rivers worth of material being spilled are inaccurate. The individuals who are spreading the information are being misled, and everyone should be aware that this minor incident has been actively monitored by all appropriate regulatory bodies since it happened." Bennett Haberly, 10 Investigates.
And to read more about this,
The landmark went up in flames last night. At least 40 fire crews were called in to fight the fire at the historic Lone Star Brewery complex. Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Phil Anaya. Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croy explains why fire officials say despite battling the fire all through the night, this could have been much worse.
Engine 7's on scene with a large vacant commercial structure.
Massive flames light up the sky near downtown. Around 11 Saturday night, San Antonio fire officials said crews responded to a large fire at the Lone Star Brewery complex.
We've got heavy fire showing from the roof and inside.
Chief Charles Hood said firefighters immediately called for a second alarm.
This is a nightmare property. Power lines are challenged for us. It's very hard to get our aerial platforms up.
Crews were able to keep the fire from spreading to a nearby structure.
6 or 7 story structure that is behind it. We were able to get in between it and cut that fire off. It would have probably gone to 4 alarms and we'd have been out here till next week, literally.
Hood said the property had evidence of vandals and other signs that people may be living in the abandoned buildings. He said had the fire happened during the deep freeze in February, it could have been much worse.
We would have been rescuing dozens of homeless people.
The structures were built back in 1933 by the Sabinus Brewing Company and became Lone Star Brewing in 1940. In 1997, it shut down. That is until a recent announcement by Gray Street Partners with plans to transform the 32-acre property into a mixed-use development with apartments, shops, and restaurants. Chief Hood said there were no injuries reported. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Pretty sure it's probably suspicious. Could be a warning fire, something like that.
Vanessa Croy, KENS 5 Eyewitness
Information tonight about a series of earthquakes. At least 5 earthquakes reported on Lake Tahoe. People felt shaking in both Nevada and California, with at least one person saying they felt it as far away as Pollock Pines. Well, you can see the biggest quake, a 3.8 magnitude, struck right in the middle of Lake Tahoe. And the USGS says the epicenter on the lake was about 1.25 miles deep. Tonight, we can confirm there are no reports of damage.